Have you ever wondered what hidden stories ancient treasures could tell if they could speak? Welcome to Unearthed Secrets, where we uncover the mysteries buried in time. This channel brings you closer to history's most fascinating discoveries. So please hit subscribe, like, and tell us where you're watching from and what time it is there. Let's begin our journey into the secrets of the past. The Minoan frescoes of Knossos, colors that never faded. Have you ever stood before a wall that seemed to breathe with color, whispering across time? Imagine a place where pigments mixed with sunlight, where art wasn't framed or hung but lived and shimmered upon the very walls around you. Welcome to Knossos, the heart of the Minoan world, a place where color refused to die, and stories were painted to outlast empires. The island of Crete rises softly from the sea, shaped by wind, salt, and sunlight. Here, long before Greece became Greece, an ancient people thrived. Traders, builders, artists, and dreamers. They built not of conquest, but of color and motion. And at their heart stood the sprawling palace of Knossos. Unlike the dark fortresses of later ages, Knossos was open, airy, and alive. Corridors turned like flowing rivers, stairways climbed to sunlight, and walls glowed with scenes of life and ritual. It is said that the palace once held over 1,000 rooms, a labyrinth not of imprisonment, but of beauty. As you walk through its reconstructed halls in your mind, imagine the scent of olive oil, the salt of the sea carried in on the breeze, and the hum of voices in a language now long forgotten. The walls are not plain, they are alive. Bright blues, reds, and golds layered across wet plaster, painted by hands that understood how to make stories endure. The frescoes of Knossos were painted in the Bronze Age, around 3,500 years ago. But even then the Minoans seemed to see the world differently. Where others carved gods in stone or shaped heroes in bronze, the Minoans let their art move. Their figures twist gracefully, their lines flow like water. Men and women leap over bulls, dolphins swim through waves, lilies bloom endlessly across the walls. It's as though their artists didn't want to trap life, they wanted to set it free. Close your eyes and picture the grand staircase. Sunlight filters down from above, glancing off polished floors. The walls are smooth, cool beneath your hand. And there, ahead of you, is a young man, slender, long-limbed, in motion. He arches gracefully through the air over a charging bull, his fingers brushing the animal's back. His skin is painted a deep red, the traditional color for men in Minoan art, while the women who watch, serene and poised, are pale as ivory. Around them a world of color breathes, ochre and cobalt, cinnabar and malachite. The pigments are made from earth and stone, yet they pulse with life. These are the famous bull leapers, acrobats, perhaps ritual performers, whose movements echoed the rhythms of the island's ceremonies. To leap over a bull was to flirt with death and mastery all at once. No one knows whether this was a sport, a rite, or something deeper. But in the frescoes, fear is absent. Instead, there is grace, as if the painter wanted to show not danger, but harmony, the balance between human skill and the wild power of nature. Knossos was not a city of warriors. Unlike the later Mycenaeans on the mainland, the Minoans left behind no battle scenes, no swords raised in triumph. Their walls spoke instead of processions, harvests, dances, and sea journeys. They worshipped a goddess, perhaps many, and their symbols were the double axe, the snake, and the bull. Their art celebrated life, fertility, and movement. Step now into another chamber, perhaps the queen's megaron. It's a quiet room, filled with gentle light. Along the wall swims a school of dolphins, their curved bodies gliding through waves of blue and white. Small fish dart between them, and the rippling lines of the sea seem to shimmer even in stillness. This fresco is among the most famous of all, the dolphin fresco. The sea was everything to the Minoans, a source of trade, food, and inspiration. The artists of Knossos painted what surrounded them, what sustained them, what they loved. Imagine the artist at work. He grinds pigments into powder, red from iron oxide, yellow from ochre, blue from precious minerals brought by trade from far lands. He mixes them with water and lime, then paints swiftly onto wet plaster. The colors sink into the wall itself, merging into its surface so that when the plaster dries, the image becomes part of the stone. This is fresco, painting not on, but within. The artist breathes with the rhythm of his work. There is no room for hesitation. Once painted, a stroke cannot be undone. He steps back. Dolphins leap before him, forever caught in a motion that feels alive. He smiles, knowing they will outlive him. And they did. Time passed. The palace fell. The walls crumbled. The sea withdrew. And the island quieted. Earth covered the colors. Darkness hid the art, and centuries drifted by. Yet when archaeologists uncovered Knossos in the early 20th century, the colors emerged again, vivid as sunrise. The blues still shimmered, the reds still burned, as if the island itself had been waiting for the world to remember. Among the frescoes, perhaps the most mysterious, are the women, the so-called ladies of Knossos. They appear in fragments, high curls of dark hair, Pale faces, elegant jewelry, bodices laced tight, skirts that ripple like water. Their eyes are calm, their expressions poised. They seem to belong to ceremonies, perhaps priestesses, perhaps queens. In their hands they hold lilies, snakes, or simply gestures of offering. Each line feels deliberate, each curve alive. No one knows their names, but their presence feels intimate, not distant. In their painted silence, you can almost sense breath, warmth, and quiet laughter. The Minoans were among the first to depict women, not as symbols of conquest or submission, but as central figures of life and worship. Their world was one of balance, not domination. Outside the palace, the sea murmured endlessly against the Cretan shore. Ships came and went, carrying olive oil, pottery, and bronze across the Mediterranean. The frescoes tell us that the Minoans were travelers. They knew Egypt, the Levant, the Cyclades, and yet their art remained their own, full of motion, full of light. As night falls over Knossos, the palace becomes quiet. The painted walls fade in the dim glow of oil lamps. Imagine the sound of a lyre in the distance, the soft rhythm of footsteps in the courtyard. The frescoes watch in silence. They have seen centuries come and go. Their colors, protected by lime and time, hold memory like a dream. Perhaps the most haunting fresco of all is the Prince of the Lilies, also called the Priest King. He strides forward gracefully, crowned with lilies and peacock feathers, his body strong yet delicate. Some scholars believe he represents a ruler, others a god, or perhaps a ceremonial figure from the island's rituals. Yet whoever he is, he seems to embody the spirit of Knossos. Proud, beautiful, poised between myth and reality. His image has endured countless interpretations. When Sir Arthur Evans excavated Knossos in the early 1900s, he reconstructed much of the palace and its art, sometimes imaginatively. Some of what we see today is part restoration, part guesswork. The true face of Minoan art remains half hidden, like a dream glimpsed through shifting mist. But even so, the emotional truth of those paintings, their motion, their serenity, their grace, remains undeniable. Now let your mind wander through those painted halls again. The air is warm, light spills down from an open skylight, the smell of the sea drifts in. You pass dolphins, lilies, and dancers. You feel as if you've stepped not into ruins, but into a living world, one that never truly ended, only went quiet. The Minoan frescoes are more than decoration. They are windows into a civilization that valued harmony, beauty, and joy. There is no despair in their art, no fear carved into their walls. Even in their myths, the labyrinth, the bull, the goddess, there is rhythm, balance, and life. The people who painted those walls seemed to believe that the world itself was sacred, that every gesture and color was part of a greater dance. Thousands of years later, their colors still hum softly in museum halls, echoing in modern eyes. People come and stare at the fragments, a hand, a curl of hair, a leap frozen mid-air, and something ancient stirs. The past is never truly silent. It speaks in pigment and plaster, in movement and stillness alike. In a way, Knossos remains alive because of its frescoes. Stones can crumble, roofs can fall, but color remembers. It remembers laughter, sunlight, the curve of a wave, the flicker of a torch. It remembers the artist's heartbeat, steady against the wall. When you look at the frescoes, you are not just seeing ancient art, you are seeing the oldest echo of storytelling through color. Every brushstroke says, "We lived, we saw beauty, we left it for you." And that is what makes Knossos special. Even as empires rose and fell, even as time swept away palaces and languages, the colors stayed, faded perhaps, but not gone. The Minoan frescoes remind us that some things are too beautiful to vanish, they simply wait to be found again. So as you close your eyes and drift deeper into the quiet of this story, imagine the walls of Knossos once more, alive with movement, music, and color. The dolphins leap, the lilies bloom, the bull leaps mid-air, forever caught in grace. The figures smile gently, frozen yet free. The sea sighs against the Cretan shore. And somewhere in that stillness, between the hum of centuries and the heartbeat of paint and plaster, you can almost hear the Minoans whisper, "Look and remember us." Their colors never faded, and neither did their spirit. The Pompeii frescoes whispers beneath the ashes. Have you ever walked through a city that time forgot, a place where footsteps still echo, though no one remains to walk them? Welcome to Pompeii, a city that never truly died. Its streets still run straight beneath the shadow of a sleeping mountain. Its homes still whisper beneath layers of ash, and its walls, yes, its walls, still speak in color. These are the Pompeii frescoes, the last breath of Roman beauty caught between life and silence. The story begins long before the eruption. Pompeii was a thriving Roman town, resting comfortably near the Bay of Naples, bathed in sun and sea breeze. Its people rose early, worked hard, traded, bathed, feasted, and loved. To walk its streets then was to see life in its richest shades. Walls were painted not for vanity, but for joy. Every home, from the humble to the grand, shimmered with color. You can almost hear the hum of morning, merchants calling from the forum, sandals scraping stone pavements, the chatter of women choosing fruit in the market. Beyond them, in shaded courtyards, painters worked. Their brushes danced across wet plaster, mixing mineral pigment with lime and air. The technique was called fresco, the art of painting into the wall itself, so that the image became part of the stone. Each stroke had to be made before the plaster dried. No hesitation, no correction. Every movement mattered. Imagine them there, the painters of Pompeii, sunlight filtering through open atriums, pigments glimmering in small bowls of ground earth and mineral, cinnabar for red, ochre for yellow, carbon for black, Egyptian blue for the rarest sky tones. They worked swiftly and with quiet purpose, because here, in Pompeii, art wasn't a luxury, it was life itself, breathing across walls. Step softly with me now, through those painted rooms, preserved beneath 2,000 years of silence. The air is cool, the walls are alive. In one villa, you find myth unfolding, a fresco of Dionysus, god of wine, teaching the art of the vine. His robes are deep red, his followers laughing softly around him, grapes spilling across a table. The figures are delicate, human, alive. You almost expect them to move. In another, a woman stands with a wax tablet pressed gently to her lips. She is known as the Sappho of Pompeii, though her real name has been lost to time. Her expression is thoughtful, her eyes alive with intelligence. Perhaps she was a scholar, perhaps a poet, perhaps simply a woman lost in thought. Yet through that painted gaze, she has lived longer than any name could carry her. The walls of Pompeii hold hundreds of such faces, gods and mortals, heroes and lovers, all caught in a timeless moment between motion and stillness. The frescoes tell us not just what people valued, but how they saw themselves. Rooms were painted to extend space, to create illusions, gardens blooming beyond walls, columns opening into imagined courtyards, birds perched on painted branches. Some homes seemed endless because the art refused to end. Even a small chamber could become vast beneath a sky of paint. One of the most striking spaces is the Villa of the Mysteries, just outside the city's walls. The name alone feels like a secret. Step inside and you find yourself surrounded by crimson, deep, almost glowing red. Figures line the walls, life-sized, moving in a silent ritual. A woman is being initiated into the mysteries of Dionysus. The fresco captures not a single moment but an entire ceremony. The figures seem to move around you as you turn, some playing music, some dancing, one raising a veil. The air in that room feels thick with presence, even now. The frescoes there are over 2,000 years old, yet the reds still burn, the expressions still ache with feeling. The unknown artist, perhaps several, worked not just for beauty, but for eternity. Elsewhere in Pompeii, walls were filled with laughter. In taverns, small frescoes showed diners reclining with cups of wine. In brothels, painted panels offered scenes both playful and suggestive, ancient advertisements of pleasure. In bakeries, murals showed loaves and baskets, the simple poetry of daily life. Every wall had a story, and every story was meant to be seen. But the mountain had its own story to tell. In the year 79 AD, Vesuvius awoke. For hours, perhaps days, the people of Pompeii must have watched the great column of smoke rising, the sky darkening into night. Then came the rain of ash, the suffocating air, the silence. And in that silence the colors were buried. The frescoes, every brushstroke, every dream disappeared beneath the weight of a world turned to dust. Centuries passed, the sea shifted, the world forgot. And then nearly 1,700 years later, the earth was opened again. When excavators brushed away the ash, they did not find death alone, they found color. Bright, startling, impossibly alive color. The reds and blues had not faded. The faces looked as if they had been painted yesterday. The ash, in its strange mercy, had sealed the art in stillness. Imagine that moment, the first glimpse of a painted wall, a human figure emerging through centuries of stone and dust. Imagine the breath caught in the excavator's throat, realizing that he was looking directly into the eyes of someone from a world that had vanished. That is the strange, tender magic of Pompeii. It is a city trapped in the instant before silence, a heartbeat away from the end, and through its frescoes we still feel that heartbeat. Now let's walk through its colors together. In the house of the Vitii, two wealthy brothers decorated every room with brilliance. The walls bloom with red and black panels, bordered with golden vines and mythic scenes. There is Perseus holding Medusa's head, Ixion bound to the fiery wheel, and Hercules as a child, strangling serpents. Each story served a purpose, to display culture, to inspire, to warn. In one room, Cupids work as goldsmiths, hammering and weighing tiny treasures. In another, women weave garlands or pour wine. The frescoes are both divine and domestic, a harmony of the ordinary and the eternal. Move further down the street, and you'll find the house of the tragic poet. Its famous mosaic of a dog warns visitors, Cave Canem, beware of the dog. Inside, the walls tell stories from myth, Achilles, Iphigenia, and scenes of the Trojan War. Yet amid these grand tales, one fresco shows a quiet garden, filled with birds, fountains, and flowers. A peaceful illusion for guests to rest their eyes upon, perhaps as wine was poured and the day dimmed into evening. Every color had meaning: red, wealth and vitality; blue, the heavens, the divine; green, rebirth and peace; gold, luxury and divine light. The Pompeians surrounded themselves with color, as if to hold on to life itself. Even now, when you stand before these frescoes in the quiet halls of museums or under the open Italian sky, it's easy to forget how much time has passed. The brushstrokes are human, confident, swift, emotional. They tell us that people then, like now, loved beauty for its own sake. They painted to make walls breathe, to make homes sing. Some frescoes show laughter, children playing, lovers embracing. Some show sorrow, gods punishing mortals, heroes facing loss. Together they make Pompeii feel alive, suspended between joy and tragedy. And perhaps that is what draws us back to it again and again, the sense that life in Pompeii ended not long ago, that these walls are still waiting for their owners to return. Imagine standing in the peristyle garden of a villa, late afternoon sun slanting through columns. You can hear the distant hum of the sea, the painted walls shimmer around you, red panels with swans and vines, landscapes with temples and fountains, tiny mythic scenes too detailed to fade. You close your eyes, and for a moment, the city breathes again. Then you remember, the ash fell, and silence followed. But in that silence, art endured. The Pompeii frescoes are not merely paintings, they are memories made permanent. Through them the Romans of Pompeii left behind their laughter, their longing, their belief that beauty was a part of life worth preserving. Even their mistakes and imperfections became part of the art. Today, scientists study the pigments, trying to understand the chemistry of those immortal colors. Archaeologists gently clean flakes of plaster, preserving what the mountain once tried to erase. But for most who visit Pompeii, none of that matters. What matters is the feeling, that sudden quiet recognition that these colors were painted by hands like ours. That someone stood there, looked at a wall and imagined a world. And so, as the night deepens around this story, imagine the city as it was, not the ruins but the living place. Lamps glow along narrow streets. Music drifts from a courtyard. The smell of bread, of wine, of olive oil fills the air. Inside a villa, the walls flicker with torchlight. Figures painted 2 millennia ago seem to shift and breathe. Their whispers drift through time. We lived, we loved, we made beauty here. That perhaps is the true legacy of Pompeii. Not its tragedy, but its art. Not the ash that buried it, but the colors that refused to die beneath it. The Pompeii frescoes remind us that life, even when interrupted, can leave behind something eternal. Color, after all, is memory. And memory, when preserved by passion and chance, becomes immortal. So tonight, as you rest and let your mind drift toward sleep, imagine those walls, still standing, still glowing, still whispering beneath the ash. The gods and mortals upon them, frozen mid-gesture. The dolphins, the vines, the faces of joy. The soundless music of a city that continues to speak, softly, through color. Because some stories never fade, they wait, patient and eternal, beneath the ashes, whispering to those who listen. The Great Wall of China, stones that guarded the sky. Have you ever imagined standing upon a structure so vast, so ancient, that it seems to stretch beyond the horizon, curling over mountains and valleys as if it were drawn by the earth itself? This is the Great Wall of China, a monument that is not merely stone and mortar, but a living chronicle of centuries, a ribbon of human endeavor winding across the landscape like a serpent of memory and time. Picture yourself walking along it, slowly, feeling the cool wind brushing against your face, hearing the soft crunch of gravel beneath your feet. The wall rises and falls with the hills, climbing sheer ridges, tracing the contour of mountains that have seen empires born and vanish. Its stones have witnessed the passage of countless lives, the quiet footsteps of soldiers and travelers, and the whisper of history carried in the wind. Long before it became one unbroken expanse, the land itself was a mosaic of kingdoms and territories, each seeking its own protection. In those early times, walls were humble, made from earth, wood, and stone, a line drawn between safety and the uncertainty beyond. They were fragile yet necessary, built by hands that understood the delicate balance between life and threat. Villagers carried baskets of mud and clay, pressed them into frames, and layered them with careful precision, their breath mingling with the dust and the warmth of the sun overhead. These early defenses were rudimentary, yet they contained the seeds of a vision that would one day grow into something far greater. As centuries passed, warlords rose and fell, and the notion of a unified defense began to take shape. It was Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a newly unified China, who recognized the potential of these scattered walls, envisioning them linked together to form a continuous barrier, a spine of protection stretching across the northern frontier. Tens of thousands of laborers, soldiers, and peasants were mobilized to join these fragments, carrying stone, brick, and earth over treacherous terrain. Mountains became pathways, valleys became trenches, and every brick was laid with purpose and precision. Some say millions toiled, some never returned, yet their efforts were etched into the very landscape, a testament to human endurance and determination. Imagine the laborers working under the pale light of dawn, the cool air of the mountains filling their lungs, the rhythmic sound of chisels striking stone, of picks piercing earth, and the steady murmur of voices blending into a symphony of creation. Each wall, each tower, each fortification was built with intention, not only for defense but to mark a boundary, to communicate power and resilience. Even as they labored, they were part of a larger story, one that would echo through time, far beyond their own lives. The wall, as it took shape, became more than a mere barrier. Watchtowers rose like sentinels, evenly spaced along ridges and summits. Within them, soldiers kept constant vigil, their eyes scanning the horizon for movement, their torches ready to leap into the night should danger approach. Fire signals could travel from one tower to another, racing across mountains faster than any rider could. The wall was alive with purpose, its stones imbued with the rhythm of human life and the pulse of vigilance. Even today, standing before one of these towers, you can almost feel that energy, the echo of countless eyes watching and waiting, the silent heartbeat of a civilization guarding its own existence. It is easy to imagine walking along the wall in the early morning, mist curling around your feet, soft clouds brushing the mountainsides, and the sun rising slowly behind distant peaks. Each step carries you higher, and with every rise and fall of the wall, you feel the weight of centuries pressing gently against your shoulders. The stones beneath your hands are rough yet familiar, worn smooth in some places by the hands of countless travelers who have passed before you. And as you move along, the wind carries whispers, stories of soldiers, of laborers, of the families who sent them forth each day with prayers and hope. During the Ming Dynasty, the wall was strengthened and expanded to its most recognizable form today. Bricks replaced mud, towers grew taller, battlements were fortified. The wall became not just a military fortification, but a statement, a message etched into the mountains and plains that this land was watched, guarded, and cherished. Signal towers were constructed to communicate across great distances. Soldiers lived within the walls, tending their posts, maintaining the pathways, and keeping constant vigilance against threats from the north. The Great Wall was, in essence, a living organism, parts of it dependent on each other, each stone a small but essential component in a network of protection that stretched thousands of miles. Consider the wall on a quiet day, long after the sounds of labor have faded. The sun paints the stones in gold, shadows sliding slowly across the crenellations. Birds circle above, their wings slicing through the crisp air. You can almost hear the soft clatter of sandals that once walked these paths, the distant chatter of centuries, the quiet laughter of children peering at the soldiers from nearby villages. The wall seems endless, undulating over hills and valleys, disappearing into the horizon, a reminder of human ambition measured against the immensity of nature. Along its expanse, the wall passes through landscapes as varied as the people who built it. In some regions, it clings to sheer cliffs, each stone precariously perched above a drop that makes the heart catch in the chest. In others, it stretches across gentle plains, where the earth is soft and fertile, and the horizon seems almost infinite. Each section tells a story of adaptation, of human ingenuity, responding to the environment, bending and shaping stone to match the undulations of mountains, rivers, and valleys. It is important to imagine the lives of those who walked these stones every day. Soldiers who kept watch through storm and sun, their eyes sharp, their hands calloused. They lived with the constant knowledge that danger could arrive without warning, yet their training, their duty, and their discipline formed the invisible strength that allowed entire civilizations to flourish behind these walls. Families of the workers would look from distant hillsides, praying for the safety of their loved ones, and so the wall became a conduit of human emotion as well. Fear, hope, pride, and determination pressed into every brick, every ridge, every tower. The Great Wall is not only a monument to human defense, but also to human creativity. The construction techniques evolved over time, blending local materials with engineering brilliance. In some regions, tamped earth formed the core of the wall, while stone faced the outer layers. In mountain regions, granite blocks were carefully cut and placed to ensure stability. In flatter plains, bricks and compacted earth made construction faster, yet equally resilient. Every section reflects the adaptation and resourcefulness of those who built it, responding to the challenges of geography, climate, and the demands of defense. As you continue to walk along the wall in your mind, Picture the towers rising at regular intervals, each one a small fortress with battlements and rooms for soldiers. Within these towers, soldiers prepared for long nights, standing guard over the countryside, lighting beacons when needed to warn distant posts. From the top of a tower, the view stretches endlessly. You can see rolling hills, distant rivers, and the faint outlines of villages nestled in the valleys below. And beyond, the land stretches into the unknown, the place from which threats could arrive, and where imagination filled the mind with stories of distant warriors, raiders, and nomads crossing the steppe. The Great Wall also served as a road, a channel of communication and commerce. Supplies, messages, and reinforcements traveled along its length, connecting garrisons separated by miles of rugged terrain. This dual purpose, as defense and as connective tissue, made the wall an extraordinary achievement. It was not simply built to keep people out, it was built to hold a civilization together, to sustain a way of life over centuries. Imagine the sun setting behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the stones. The wall, now bathed in amber light, seems almost alive. Each crenellation casts a sharp line across the uneven stone, the towers looming like silent guardians over the land below. The wind whispers softly through gaps and over ridges, carrying the scent of earth, pine, and distant fields. You can almost hear the echoes of life that once thrived along this path: laughter, the clatter of tools, the soft murmur of conversation. Some of the most remote sections of the wall evoke a sense of endlessness. The stones seem to stretch beyond what the eye can see, climbing peaks that touch the clouds and descending into valleys veiled in mist. Walking these sections, even in imagination, evokes a sensation of awe, humility, and wonder. The wall is both monumental and intimate, a place where human ambition meets the vastness of nature in a quiet conversation that has lasted millennia. And still, the wall bears witness. It has seen invaders come and go, dynasties rise and fall, storms rage, and seasons change. The stones have shifted slightly with time, yet their essence remains. Each brick carries the story of the hand that placed it, the laborer who lifted it, the soldier who guarded it. And as centuries passed, travelers, pilgrims, and wanderers left their marks as well: inscriptions, scratches, and symbols, small echoes of human presence across time. At night, the Great Wall becomes even more ethereal. The moonlight drapes across the ridges, illuminating the stones in a pale silver glow. The mountains stretch into darkness, and the wind hums a haunting, gentle tune. In this quiet, you can imagine the guards pacing along their watch, lanterns flickering softly, alert yet peaceful. You can almost hear the distant howl of a lone wolf, the rustle of leaves, and the soft trickle of a hidden stream below the cliffs. This is the Great Wall, as it truly exists in memory and imagination, not merely a series of stones, but a living record of human determination, artistry, and endurance. It reminds us of the lengths we go to protect what we hold dear, of the ingenuity required to survive, and of the beauty inherent in effort, patience, and foresight. Even today, travelers stand upon the stones, tracing their fingers along the uneven surfaces, feeling the rough texture beneath their palms, listening to the wind, and imagining the countless lives that moved here before them. The Great Wall is not simply a relic, it is a connection, a bridge across time. Each step along it is a meditation, a chance to reflect on the human spirit, on resilience, and on the fleeting yet eternal nature of life. And as you imagine yourself walking along the Great Wall, from sunrise to sunset, from valley to mountain, it is impossible not to feel a sense of calm, of reverence, of gentle awe. The wall endures not because it was built to resist, but because it was built with care, with purpose, and with vision. Its stones whisper stories across centuries, inviting us to pause, to breathe, and to listen. As the morning mist lifts and sunlight spreads across the mountains, the Great Wall seems to breathe. Each stone glows faintly in the soft light, warmed by centuries of sun. The mountains themselves appear to cradle it, the wall weaving along ridges and through passes like a thread of human will stitched into the vastness of nature. Imagine standing atop one of the higher towers, feeling the wind whip across your face, carrying the faint scent of pine, earth, and distant rivers. From here, the horizon stretches endlessly, broken only by the subtle curve of the wall disappearing into the hills, a serpentine line of perseverance and quiet strength. The watchtowers, so often seen in photographs and films, were not merely architectural flourishes, they were lifelines. Soldiers would climb narrow stone steps, pausing at each landing to glance over the lands below. Some steps were worn smooth by generations of boots, others rough from the quarry. Inside the towers, rooms held the tools of vigilance: lanterns, signal fires, weapons, and stores of food and water for long watches. The walls were thick, allowing archers to fire upon invaders while remaining protected, yet narrow enough to preserve the view of the distant horizon. The Ming architects who rebuilt these towers knew that the wall itself had to be as much a symbol as it was a fortification. As you wander along the wall in your mind, picture the human effort it took to maintain it. Soldiers would patrol for hours, sometimes days, through rain, snow, and blistering heat. They repaired crumbling stone, replaced broken tiles, and ensured that every section was ready to serve its purpose. Some sections of the wall crossed difficult terrain, sheer cliffs, rocky ridges, and slippery mountain paths, requiring ingenuity and immense labor to complete. Human persistence became intertwined with natural geography, producing a monument that is simultaneously a testament to engineering and to willpower. Between towers, steps rise and fall in gentle undulations or steep climbs, depending on the contours of the land. Each step was carved with thought, each stretch designed for both defense and endurance. On a quiet day, it is possible to imagine the slow passage of time across these steps, children chasing each other in villages below, traders carrying goods along the roads, families waving to soldiers from distant hills. The wall served as a silent witness to lives lived and lost, joys celebrated, and dangers faced. Beyond its military purpose, the Great Wall also functioned as a boundary and a guide. It delineated realms, marking where the cultivated lands of empire ended and the open, untamed lands began. For merchants and travelers, the wall provided a path through otherwise impassable mountains and forests, a guidepost of human presence in an otherwise wild landscape. It was a road of endurance, linking distant outposts, towns, and villages, carrying messages, goods, and lives across vast distances. Even in the quietest stretches, the wall feels alive. Small plants find purchase between stones, creeping tendrils of greenery softening the hard edges of rock and brick. Birds nest within cracks, filling the air with soft song. Occasionally, a fox or other small animal scurries along a ridge, pausing to listen, as if aware of the centuries of human footsteps that have passed this way. The wall is a world unto itself, a place where nature and human history coexist, layered together in quiet harmony. At dawn, when the sun spills gold across the ridges, shadows stretch across the battlements. The surface of the wall shimmers with the heat of the rising day, and the faint sound of wind becomes a whispering companion. Each stone is etched with history, the hands that placed it, the soldiers who guarded it, the travelers who paused upon it. Even centuries later, it is possible to sense the human pulse embedded in the stone, the rhythm of lives spent in dedication, fear, hope, and persistence. The Great Wall is not uniform, it adapts to the land and the era. In some areas, bricks are neatly lined and uniform, the result of Ming Dynasty reconstruction. In other stretches, tamped earth and stone dominate, showing the ingenuity of earlier dynasties and the improvisation required by topography. The wall rises sharply in some places, daring anyone to climb, while descending gradually in others, as if guiding the observer gently through the landscape. Every section is a dialogue between human design and the natural world, a delicate balance achieved over centuries. As you continue walking along its length, imagine the wall stretching over mountain peaks that disappear into clouds. Mist rises from valleys, curling around the stones, softening their edges. The air is crisp and carries a faint chill. In that stillness, it is easy to hear the echo of time itself, the footsteps of those who carried bricks, the faint clamor of tools shaping stone, and the murmured prayers of families for the safety of their loved ones. These whispers of history are invisible but tangible, lingering in the wind, the stones, and the rhythm of your own breath as you walk in imagination. The wall also holds tales of diplomacy, negotiation, and cultural exchange. In many sections, guards would welcome travelers and traders from distant lands, passing messages and goods while maintaining the security of the empire. Markets sometimes sprang up along its edges, and settlements grew in its shadow. The Great Wall was not just a defense but a living corridor of human activity, connecting people across distances that might otherwise have seemed insurmountable. At twilight, the wall transforms. The sun sinks behind distant mountains, bathing the stones in amber and rose. Shadows stretch across the battlements, and the first stars begin to peek through the darkening sky. The air cools, carrying with it the faint scent of pine, soil, and distant rivers. It is a time of quiet reflection. In these moments, the Great Wall reveals not its strength alone, but its profound stillness, the sense that despite all that has passed, it endures. Night brings a different kind of beauty. The moon casts silver light across ridges and valleys, turning stones into pale reflections of themselves. Stars scatter across the sky, mirrored faintly by distant lanterns and fires from nearby villages. The wind moves softly through the battlements, carrying the faint hum of distant wildlife and the echoes of the wall's human history. In this light, the wall is no longer a barrier, but a bridge connecting generations, landscapes, and stories that span centuries. And yet, even in the most remote sections, the wall invites contemplation. You can walk for hours, imagining the lives it has touched, the threats it has faced, and the dreams it has safeguarded. Soldiers once stationed here experienced long stretches of solitude, their lives intertwined with the rhythm of the mountains. their days marked by the rising and setting sun, by the distant signals of fire and smoke. These solitary watches created a silent companionship between humans and the wall, a relationship that persists even now for those who walk its stones. The Great Wall has also inspired artists, poets, and travelers for centuries. Its curves and contours, its mixture of natural and human construction, evoke feelings of awe, patience, and humility. Painters attempted to capture its length and texture, poets wrote of its guardianship and endurance, and travelers marveled at its scale and the perseverance required to maintain it. Even those who never set foot upon it feel its presence in stories and images, sensing the quiet grandeur of a structure that seems to touch the sky. Even today, the wall offers lessons. It teaches patience, endurance, and the power of collective effort. It reminds us that some achievements are not measured in speed or fleeting fame, but in steadfastness, in the persistence of purpose over time. Each stone laid, each tower built, represents not only human ingenuity, but human commitment, a dedication to the continuity of life, culture, and security. As night deepens, the Great Wall rests under the quiet gaze of the moon. Its stones, worn smooth by centuries of hands, reflect a gentle silver glow, and the mountains rise like silent sentinels all around. The wind whispers softly through the battlements, carrying with it the faint echoes of lives long past. The soldiers who once stood watch, the laborers who carried stones over peaks and valleys, the families who prayed for their safe return. Walking along this ancient path in your imagination, you can feel the stillness settling into every crevice, the rhythm of history folding into the present. Each tower and each stretch of wall tells a story of patience, perseverance, and human will, yet it also invites you to breathe, to pause, and to reflect. It is not merely a structure of defense, but a monument to endurance, a quiet reminder that effort, care, and purpose can stretch across time as surely as stone stretches across mountains. In the darkness, the wall seems to hum with memory. You may imagine the distant sound of water trickling from a hidden stream, the rustle of leaves, and the faint call of night birds. It is a gentle lullaby, a meditation written in stone. Even the smallest stones, pressed into the earth by countless hands, carry the weight of centuries, yet they do so gracefully, offering strength and quiet beauty without demand. And so, as you drift through this imagined journey along the Great Wall, let the vastness and stillness settle around you. Let the mountains cradle your thoughts, let the stars above mirror the endless reach of human endeavor, and let the wall itself remind you of the quiet power of patience, resilience, and care. It endures through storms and calm alike, a silent guardian of history, and a companion to your imagination as you rest, breathe, and surrender to the gentle rhythm of time. The Forbidden City. Secrets behind golden walls. Have you ever imagined stepping into a place where every stone, every carved beam, every painted tile whispers stories that span centuries? The Forbidden City rises in the heart of Beijing like a golden jewel, vast and serene, a realm of grandeur and secrecy. Tonight, we will walk its courtyards and halls, move through its hidden passageways, and listen to the echoes of emperors, concubines, scholars, and countless unseen hands that built, maintained, and lived within this sprawling palace complex. Let your mind wander through the golden roofs, the vermilion walls, and the quiet gardens, and let the history of this sacred place envelop you. Construction began in the early 15th century, under the reign of the Yongle Emperor of the Ming Dynasty. He envisioned a palace that would embody the might and harmony of imperial authority, a city within a city, where the emperor's presence was absolute. Architects and artisans were summoned from across China. Timber, stone, and glazed tiles were transported over mountains and rivers by thousands of laborers. Every beam was carved with care, every tile painted with mineral pigments that shimmered in sunlight, ensuring that the palace would shine with golden brilliance for centuries. The scale was staggering, and the effort was immense, but the vision was one of eternity, a space where heaven and earth could meet through architecture, ritual, and the presence of the emperor. The outer walls rise nearly 10 meters high, encircling the entire complex, more than 3 kilometers in each direction. Guard towers stand at the corners, silent sentinels observing the centuries pass. The walls were not merely defensive, but symbolic, separating the sacred realm of the emperor from the bustling city beyond. Massive gates punctuate these walls, adorned with rows of golden studs and intricate carvings of dragons, phoenixes, and clouds, each motif steeped in meaning. Passing beneath them, one is not simply entering a palace, but stepping into an ordered universe, a world in which every movement, every word, and every gesture is imbued with purpose. The Meridian Gate, the main southern entrance, opens onto the outer court, a vast expanse where the rituals of governance and ceremony unfolded. Imagine standing there, feeling the immense scale of the courtyard beneath your feet, hearing the soft echoes of footsteps as officials once bowed, aligned in precise formations, their voices mingling in ritualistic cadence. Pavilions and halls rise along the central axis, the largest and most imposing being the Hall of Supreme Harmony. Here, emperors received foreign envoys, declared laws, and celebrated grand festivals. The hall's intricate wooden pillars, painted ceilings, and golden roof tiles reflect centuries of craftsmanship. Every beam and bracket carries the weight of history, the labor of artisans whose hands shaped an empire in miniature. Beyond the outer court lies the inner court, a quieter, more intimate domain where the emperor and his family lived. Here, courtyards are smaller, halls more private, and gardens lush with carefully arranged trees, ponds, and stone pathways. In these spaces, the rhythm of daily life unfolded, and the intimate routines of imperial life occurred away from public scrutiny. Imperial concubines walked softly along marble terraces, their silks brushing the stone. Children played quietly in shaded gardens. Scholars moved through corridors with scrolls and brushes, recording, planning, and advising. Servants carried food and water, maintaining the smooth rhythm of palace life. Every action within these walls was part of a choreography that balanced authority, tradition, and ceremony. Even the smallest details were imbued with meaning. Roofs curved upward at the edges, designed to ward off evil spirits. Dragons and phoenixes carved into beams symbolized the power of the emperor and the harmony of the cosmos. Doors and windows were arranged to guide movement, to create a sense of awe, and to remind all who entered that they were in a realm apart from the ordinary. Marble bridges and stone balustrades led across serene ponds, reflecting the sky and roofs above. Lanterns hung along corridors, their glow softening the stone and wood, casting long, gentle shadows that danced in the evening breeze. Life within the Forbidden City was governed by strict hierarchy. Every official, servant, and attendant had a place and a role. The emperor's word was law, yet even he moved within the constraints of ritual and tradition. Daily routines were punctuated by ceremonies, meals, and audiences. The palace was alive with quiet activity, scholars moving silently through corridors, guards stationed at every threshold, cooks preparing intricate meals, artisans repairing broken tiles, and musicians practicing in hidden chambers to be ready for festival days. Each day was a balance of discipline, beauty, and careful orchestration. The gardens of the Forbidden City offer a different kind of serenity. In the Imperial Garden, ancient trees twist gracefully, some centuries old, their branches reaching over stone pathways. Ponds mirror the sky, with lotus flowers drifting on the surface. Bridges arch gently over flowing water, inviting quiet reflection. Here the emperor could walk unseen, contemplating governance, philosophy, and the cycles of life. Even in the midst of grandeur, there were spaces of intimacy, where human thought and nature could meet. The subtle sounds of water trickling, wind rustling through leaves, and birds calling in the distance create a meditative rhythm that contrasts with the vastness of ceremonial halls. As the sun rises and falls over the city, the shifting light transforms the colors of the palace. Golden roofs catch the sun, shining like fire against the sky. Vermilion walls glow warmly in morning light, and soften to deep reds and oranges as dusk approaches. Shadows stretch along corridors, adding depth and mystery. In the quiet evening, lanterns illuminate pathways with soft pools of light, guiding footsteps and creating a sense of intimacy within the vast complex. The Forbidden City is both monumental and personal, grand in scale, yet gentle in its embrace of human presence. Throughout centuries, the Forbidden City has witnessed both triumph and tragedy. Emperors rose and fell, dynasties changed, and revolutions reshaped the nation beyond its walls. Yet within, the palace preserved its order, ritual, and beauty. The stones, beams, and tiles have absorbed the echoes of countless lives, holding them as a record of human endeavor. Today, walking through the halls, it is possible to sense this continuum, the unbroken rhythm of history that has passed silently through courtyards and corridors. Even in its current quiet state, the Forbidden City exudes life. Tourists wander through its gates, historians and scholars study its architecture, and the occasional ceremonial event breathes temporary activity into the ancient courtyards. Yet beneath this surface remains the memory of generations who lived, worked, and dreamed here. Every step you take is a step alongside those who came before, a connection across time, a reminder of human dedication, and the desire to shape the world with care, artistry, and purpose. The walls themselves tell stories. Intricate carvings depict dragons soaring through clouds, phoenixes rising over mountains, and waves that speak to the balance of nature and human power. The roofs covered in glazed tiles shimmer in sunlight, their colors carefully chosen to represent authority, prosperity, and harmony. Even the arrangement of buildings along the central axis reflects cosmic order, a deliberate alignment that transforms architecture into philosophy. Walking through these spaces is to walk through the very heart of imperial vision. At night, the Forbidden City is serene. Moonlight glows softly on the golden roofs and vermilion walls. Shadows deepen in the courtyards, yet the space feels alive with memory. The sound of wind moving through trees and across stone is gentle and meditative. Lanterns cast pools of soft light, revealing details that might otherwise go unnoticed. The delicate carvings on a door, the subtle curve of a roof, the worn texture of stone steps shaped by centuries of footsteps. It is a place where time seems to slow, where past and present coexist, and where the mind can wander freely, guided by the quiet presence of history. Walking along its corridors in imagination, one can feel the rhythm of palace life. Meals prepared in quiet kitchens, scholars reading and recording, guards pacing silently, children laughing softly in hidden gardens, concubines moving gracefully along shadowed walkways, each moment layered upon another, creating a tapestry of human existence. And though centuries have passed, the energy of those lives remains, pressed gently into the wood, stone, and tile. The Forbidden City is more than a palace. It is a testament to human vision, to discipline, to artistry, and to the desire for permanence. Its scale inspires awe, its details invite contemplation, and its history offers a profound meditation on the passage of time. Walking through it in thought, one can feel both the vastness of empire and the intimacy of individual lives, a duality that makes the palace eternally compelling. And so, as you imagine wandering through its golden halls, across the smooth stone courtyards, past the quiet gardens and towering halls, let the calm of the Forbidden City settle around you. Let the stories of emperors, scholars, artisans, and countless unseen lives become a gentle rhythm in your mind. The palace is enduring, serene, and quiet, a reminder of the elegance of patience, the depth of human creativity, and the beauty of history preserved in stone. With each imagined step, the Forbidden City invites you to breathe slowly, to relax, and to drift through the corridors of time, surrounded by golden walls that hold secrets, stories, and the quiet majesty of centuries. The Golden Buddha of Wat Tramet, silent majesty in solid gold. The origins of the Golden Buddha reach back to the Sukhothai period, a time when devotion and artistry intertwined. Artisans worked meticulously, building the statue over a core of clay, shaping it to embody the balance, serenity, and spiritual grace of the Buddha. Imagine the temple workshops, the soft tap of chisels, the careful application of gold leaf, incense curling through the air, and monks chanting quietly, their voices rising and falling like a gentle river. Every curve of the statue, every angle of the face, every position of the hands was intentional, crafted to inspire peace, contemplation, and connection with the divine. The statue was then concealed beneath a layer of plaster and stucco. For centuries, its true brilliance remained hidden, a secret shielded from thieves, war, and time itself. Devotees knelt before it, offering prayers, lighting incense, and performing rituals, unaware that beneath the humble exterior lay a treasure of immense value and spiritual power. The statue became both a guardian and a witness, absorbing the silent devotion of those around it. Its plaster covering allowed it to endure, to survive, and to witness centuries of human history without being disturbed. Over time, the Golden Buddha traveled quietly through history. It moved with the shifting tides of politics and religion, carefully relocated to protect it from harm. Imagine the care and reverence required to move a statue weighing 5 tons, the hushed coordination, the steady hands, and the quiet prayers that accompanied every step. It endured floods, wars, and the relentless march of time, yet it remained steadfast, a symbol of patience, resilience, and enduring faith. In the bustling streets of Bangkok, among the temples, monks, and markets, the Golden Buddha sits in tranquil majesty. Its surface reflects sunlight in a warm golden glow, catching the eyes of visitors and locals alike. As people approach, they feel a sense of calm washing over them. The Buddha's expression is gentle and meditative, its eyes slightly lowered, inviting reflection. The intricate curves of the statue, the delicate shaping of the face, and the poised positioning of the hands convey not only spiritual wisdom, but also centuries of meticulous craftsmanship. Even its concealment beneath plaster tells a story. For hundreds of years, people interacted with the statue as if it were ordinary, never suspecting the treasure beneath. Candles flickered, incense smoke spiraled, and chants filled the air. Children played nearby, monks walked past in quiet contemplation, pilgrims knelt and whispered their prayers, and the statue remained, patient and silent, holding its secret with dignity and grace. In this quiet concealment, the Buddha became a mirror of faith itself. The true value is often hidden, enduring and unwavering, regardless of recognition. When the statue was finally revealed in the mid-20th century, the world was astonished. A careless accident during relocation caused a crack in the plaster, and beneath it shone pure gold. Imagine the astonishment, the awe, and the silence that followed as the truth was realized. What had been considered ordinary was extraordinary. What had been hidden was radiant. The Golden Buddha had survived centuries without recognition, yet its presence had always influenced those around it, a quiet power that was both spiritual and tangible. The statue's sheer weight, over 5 tons, speaks to both its physical majesty and the effort required to create it. Gold, dense and luminous, conveys a sense of permanence, yet the statue is more than a display of wealth. It is a vessel of devotion, a bridge between human effort and spiritual aspiration. Imagine standing close enough to feel the warmth radiating from the gold, seeing every curve, every detail, every imperfection as evidence of centuries of human care and intention. Each angle invites contemplation, each reflection encourages mindfulness, and every observation reminds the viewer of the enduring relationship between humans and the sacred. Its location within Wat Tramet adds another layer of serenity. The temple itself, bustling with worshippers and quiet corners alike, provides a sanctuary for reflection. Incense drifts lazily through the air, sunlight filters through temple doors and windows, and the murmured chants of monks create a soft rhythm that complements the stillness of the Buddha. Walking through the temple halls, one feels both connected to the world outside and drawn inward toward the calm center represented by the statue. The Golden Buddha also embodies the resilience of history. It has survived political upheavals, wars, urban development, and the curiosity of generations. Its solid gold core, hidden beneath protective layers, represents the endurance of faith, the stability of art, and the quiet patience required to withstand centuries. Even as modern life swirls around it, the city, tourists, commerce, the Buddha remains serene, unaffected, a timeless witness to the flow of human history. Its meditation posture, hands resting in the lap, eyes lowered, evokes calm and contemplation. In this position, the statue invites not just admiration but introspection. One imagines the countless individuals who have knelt before it, reflecting on their lives, seeking guidance, or offering gratitude. Each person leaves an invisible imprint on the space, a layering of devotion and attention that accumulates over time, merging with the enduring presence of the Buddha itself. Even the smallest details are remarkable. The folds of the robe, the subtle curve of the shoulders, the delicate rendering of the facial features, all reveal the mastery of the artisans who crafted it. Every inch of gold leaf, every contour, every surface tells a story of devotion, patience, and an unbroken link between human creativity and spiritual aspiration. These details invite the observer to slow down, to notice, to breathe, and to feel the quiet majesty of presence without needing words or explanation. The journey of the Golden Buddha continues even today. Visitors approach, often unaware of its full history, yet they instinctively recognize its calm authority. Monks maintain the space, guiding worshippers, offering quiet prayers, and tending to the temple with care. Candles are lit, incense burned, and the soft rhythms of ritual continue, a living connection to centuries past. Each day, the statue observes quietly, reflecting light, absorbing devotion, and radiating tranquility to all who encounter it. Imagine now tracing your hand along the smooth, cool surface of the gold, feeling the solidity beneath your fingertips. Picture the golden glow reflecting in your mind's eye, radiating warmth and calm. The statue is not only a relic or an object of wealth, it is a companion for reflection, meditation, and inner peace. The solid gold that forms it carries weight, permanence, and stability, yet it does so gently, offering serenity rather than awe alone. Its story is a reminder that true value often remains hidden. For centuries, it was covered, unassuming, ordinary in appearance, yet the core was extraordinary. Life, like the Golden Buddha, sometimes conceals its treasures beneath layers of protection, waiting for the right moment to shine, enduring quietly through the passage of time. Walking through Wat Tramet, one senses this lesson in every glance, every shadow, every subtle reflection of gold catching the light. The Golden Buddha also speaks to human ingenuity and devotion. Creating a statue of this scale required knowledge, skill, and a deep understanding of material and form. The weight of 5 tons of gold, shaped into a single harmonious figure, is astounding. Yet it is not the weight that inspires, it is the balance, the symmetry, and the calm it conveys. The statue communicates not through words but through presence, inviting us to slow down, to notice, and to appreciate the quiet power of patience, precision, and faith. Through its centuries-long journey, through concealment, rediscovery, and continued reverence, the Golden Buddha remains a symbol of quiet majesty. It is not only a marvel of material and craftsmanship, but a vessel of human aspiration, faith, and endurance. In its stillness, it invites reflection, meditation, and an intimate connection between observer and object, history and present, physicality and spirit. The giant wild goose pagoda, guardians of ancient sutras. The pagoda was built in the Tang dynasty, beginning in 652 AD, during the reign of Emperor Gaozong. Its primary purpose was to house the sacred Buddhist texts, the sutras, that the monk Xuanzang had brought from India after a long and perilous pilgrimage. Imagine the journey, Xuanzang traveling across deserts, mountains, and rivers, facing storms, thieves, and harsh landscapes, carrying with him scrolls of sacred knowledge, driven by devotion and the desire to preserve these teachings for generations. Each sutra contained not just religious instruction, but centuries of wisdom, philosophical depth, and insight into the human spirit. Upon returning to China, Xuanzang needed a secure place to store the sutras and share them with students, monks, and devotees. The construction of the giant wild goose pagoda became both a practical solution and a spiritual undertaking. Architects and artisans worked carefully, designing a structure that would endure, that would protect the precious scrolls, and that would inspire reverence in all who approached. Each layer of brick, each carefully placed beam, was part of a vision that merged architectural ingenuity with spiritual purpose. The pagoda's design reflects the elegance and practicality of Tang Dynasty architecture. Originally, it was 5 stories tall, though later renovations added more layers, allowing it to rise even higher into the sky. Its square base, gradually tapering as it ascends, gives it both stability and grace. Imagine walking around the base, feeling the texture of the ancient bricks under your fingertips, tracing the patterns carved into them, and noticing the careful alignment of each layer, designed to endure the centuries. The structure's proportions are not merely aesthetic but symbolic, echoing Buddhist principles of balance, harmony, and connection between earth and heaven. Inside, the pagoda was simple yet profound. Each level offered quiet spaces for meditation, study, and reflection. Pilgrims and monks climbed its narrow staircases, carrying scrolls, chanting sutras, and moving in rhythm with centuries of ritual. Imagine the soft echoes of footsteps on worn stone, the distant murmur of prayers, and the gentle sway of incense smoke rising toward the ceiling. Each level became a guardian chamber, not just for physical scrolls but for centuries of devotion, scholarship, and spiritual energy. The journey upward through the pagoda is a meditation in itself. As one ascends, the air grows stiller, the outside world fades, and the focus sharpens on each step, each breath, and each moment of contemplation. Windows punctuate the walls at intervals, allowing sunlight to filter through, casting patterns of light and shadow across the stone floors. From these windows, the city of Xi'an stretches outward, a reminder of the connection between the sacred space within and the living world beyond. Pilgrims might pause to gaze upon the rooftops, the streets, and the distant mountains, reflecting on the vastness of both the world and the inner journey. The pagoda also served as a repository for the translation of sutras. Xuanzang and his disciples worked tirelessly, translating texts from Sanskrit into Chinese, preserving the teachings, and ensuring that the knowledge would be accessible to generations to come. Imagine monks seated in quiet chambers, ink brushes in hand, the faint scent of parchment and ink filling the air, their movements deliberate and reverent, each scroll carefully written, each character reflecting patience, precision, and spiritual devotion, a connection between the mind, the hand, and the sacred teachings. Throughout its long history, the giant wild goose pagoda has faced earthquakes, wars, and the passage of time, yet it has endured, a silent witness to dynasties rising and falling, to pilgrims traveling across the empire, and to countless moments of quiet contemplation. Its resilience is a testament not only to architectural skill, but to the enduring power of purpose. Each brick and beam carries the weight of centuries, yet it does so with elegance, allowing the pagoda to remain both monumental and approachable, both powerful and serene. The surrounding temple complex enhances the meditation of the pagoda. Courtyards open to the sky, gardens provide spaces for quiet reflection, and smaller halls house statues, relics, and additional sutras. The scent of incense drifts lazily through the air, blending with the soft rustle of leaves and the occasional call of birds. Walking these grounds, one is drawn into a rhythm of calm, a pattern of mindfulness, and an appreciation for the quiet yet profound interplay between human devotion and the natural world. The symbolism of the pagoda is deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy. Its upward-reaching tiers represent the journey toward enlightenment, the gradual ascent from the earthly plane toward spiritual awakening. The square base signifies stability and the grounding of wisdom and practice. Windows and open spaces allow light to enter, reminding observers that illumination, insight, and understanding penetrate even the densest structures. Each aspect of the building invites reflection, meditation, and the awareness that every step in life, like every step upward in the pagoda, is part of a journey toward balance and clarity. Pilgrims who climbed the pagoda centuries ago did so with intention. Each ascent was a practice in mindfulness, a reflection on patience, endurance, and the importance of focus. The stairs themselves are narrow, requiring careful attention to each movement, and the rhythmic breathing of the climber aligns with the stillness of the sacred space. Upon reaching higher levels, the view opens to the city and surrounding landscape, offering both a literal and metaphorical perspective. The distance between effort and achievement, between devotion and understanding, between the temporal world and the eternal. Even today, the giant wild goose pagoda continues to inspire awe. Visitors from around the world approach with curiosity, reverence, and imagination. Some pause at the base, tracing the contours of ancient bricks, while others climb the stairs slowly, absorbing the quiet rhythm and the stories embedded in the walls. Monks maintain the temple, lighting incense, chanting sutras, and guiding visitors with gentle instructions. Every interaction with the pagoda becomes part of its ongoing history, layering modern experience atop centuries of devotion and scholarship. Imagine now standing at the highest accessible level, feeling the wind brushing gently against your face, the sun warming the bricks beneath your fingertips, and the vast expanse of Sion stretching before you. The pagoda below anchors you, a tangible connection to centuries of human effort, faith, and wisdom. Scrolls of sutras, once carried across deserts and mountains, now rest safely within, their teachings preserved and illuminated. The entire structure radiates calm, wisdom, and silent authority, a reminder that knowledge, faith, and patience endure beyond fleeting moments, beyond individual lifetimes. The pagoda's influence extends beyond its physical form. It shaped culture, education, and the spread of Buddhism throughout China and East Asia. Scholars, artists, and pilgrims carried lessons learned within its walls to distant regions, blending philosophical thought, religious practice, and architectural inspiration. Every brick, every carved detail, every ritual observed within the temple grounds became part of a larger tapestry of human culture, linking generations, communities, and nations through shared devotion and intellectual pursuit. The interior spaces, though simple, invite contemplation. Imagine the quiet of a monk seated on a mat, reading from a sutra, the gentle flicker of candlelight illuminating the page. The scent of incense mixes with the faint aroma of aged paper, creating an atmosphere of concentration and peace. Steps echo softly as others move through the halls, their movements deliberate and respectful. In these quiet moments, the pagoda is alive, not in noise or motion but in presence, memory, and the spiritual energy accumulated over centuries. Ascending and descending the stairs becomes a meditation in itself. Each step reminds the observer of effort, attention, and mindfulness. The narrow staircases create pauses, moments of reflection, and an awareness of the structure's scale and purpose. Higher levels reveal broader vistas, encouraging perspective, calm, and an appreciation for the distance traveled, both physically and spiritually. The pagoda's resilience is remarkable. It has survived natural disasters, political upheaval, and the inevitable wear of time. Its endurance reflects the skill of its builders, the devotion of its guardians, and the reverence of countless generations who maintained it. Every earthquake resisted, every brick preserved, every corner maintained, speaks to the quiet dedication and collective care invested over centuries. Its bricks, though weathered, hold the warmth of centuries. Patterns of light and shadow shift gently throughout the day, casting soft, moving reflections across floors and walls. The structure itself becomes a living meditation, changing subtly with time, season, and light, yet maintaining a serene constancy that invites calm observation and reflection. Even the air within and around the pagoda seems infused with history. Imagine inhaling slowly, breathing in not only the scent of incense and stone, but the intangible presence of countless pilgrims, monks, scholars, and devotees who moved here before you. Every breath connects you to a chain of human experience, devotion, and learning, a reminder that patience, curiosity, and care transcend the bounds of individual lifetimes. The pagoda's gardens complement its sacred purpose. Trees grow with age and dignity, ponds reflect the sky and the pagoda's structure, and paths wind gently through the temple grounds. Soft sounds, birds calling, leaves rustling, water trickling, blend with the distant hum of chants, creating an atmosphere of tranquility, calm, and timelessness. Walking these gardens is an extension of the meditation inside, a slow exploration of nature, architecture, and spirituality intertwined. The giant wild goose pagoda is more than a structure, it is a guardian. It preserves knowledge, guides meditation, inspires reflection, and reminds visitors that effort, devotion, and attention to detail create enduring beauty and wisdom. Each level, each brick, each carved feature embodies centuries of human care, spiritual aspiration, and cultural significance. Every visitor becomes part of this continuum, adding their presence to the silent history, reinforcing the enduring significance of this extraordinary monument. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history's hidden treasures. If you enjoyed uncovering these mysteries, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Share in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Until next time, keep exploring the secrets of the past.